Italy beat Austria and are on to the quarterfinals. So much to get into on the match. This is a brief reaction from the game. Before we get into this, I do have a serious question for the viewers. Does anyone have the statistics of Marco Verratti in big games? We'll get into this. Ciao ragazzi, we are back. Another big victory for the Azzurri, beating Austria 2-1 in extra time. Reactions from this game were on all spectrums, right? Some people were just excited just to get through. Other people are just so jubilant. The team did so great. They did fantastic. They won. They kept going. They keep this momentum running. 31 games unbeaten in a row. Others are criticizing Mancini for getting everything wrong. And, you know, I get it all, right? First and foremost, before we get into some of the player stuff, those who don't know who Austria are and think that this should have been an easy win, you're mistaken. This is a team comprised of mostly Bundesliga players, with a now to be announced Real Madrid player and David Alaba. This is a very good team. This is a historically underachieving team. This team should always play a lot better than they have been. And if they play to their potential, they can take on most teams in the world and be very, very good. And that's what we saw in this game. So, and the game started off, the Azzurri looking very good in the first half, dictating play. Many wondered going into halftime, we were going 0-0, wondering what we could do going into the second half to get a goal. I mean, that's all that was missing from this game, right? Is a goal. Well, the Azzurri kind of took their foot off the gas, let Austria into the game, and Austria started dictating the game in that second half, right? It got close a couple times there for the Azzurri, but yeah, Austria really gave it to Azzurri. This is really, honestly, the first test that Italy have had so far in this tournament, and they needed it, honestly, right? Frank, my co-host on Serie, sit down and says, you know, finally we're getting pushed, and this is exactly what we needed. A lot of criticism in this game about the substitutions, the starting lineup. People saying that that Mancini got the starting lineup completely wrong. Others saying he got a spot on. I mean, honestly, a manager, Mancini, who's gone 31 games unbeaten so far, hadn't given him a goal yet to this point in the tournament, should not be second guessed, right? I gotta imagine he knows what he's doing. He knows his players better than any of us, right? We have seen these players, yes, in and out of the league, but he's there in training camp. He knows what his team needs. I think he's pieced the exact team that's going to work for what he's trying to implement. The big news in this one, obviously, was Marco Verratti getting the start over Manuel Locatelli. Locatelli had played brilliantly in his first two games. Obviously, in the opener, they get the win there against Turkey, and then gets a nice brace against Switzerland. Then Verratti stepped in. He came back from injury in the last game of the group stage. Verratti played excellently too, right? You look at the ratings. Verratti had 8-7 in the Wales match, but Locatelli 8-6. They both played very, very well. And so, you know, the consensus is when all is healthy, Verratti should start over Locatelli in that midfield, right? I'm not so sure about that. But before we get into that, you know, the game went on and on. 0-0 goes into end at full time. 0-0. A lot of Italian fans are screaming, "What are we doing? We're playing poorly." I don't think so. I think Austria was really pushing Italy and making it a difficult time for them. I mean, they have some really good players, and David Alaba was shutting down the right-hand side pretty much for the Azzurri. They couldn't do anything down the right-hand side. You know, Di Lorenzo wasn't getting down the pitch that much. Verratti was basically ineffective against Alaba. And then we started seeing the substitutions. Chiesa came in. Matteo Pessina came in. This really started to swing the momentum for the Azzurri going into extra time. In extra time, we would see the first goal of the game came from a brilliant pass by Spinazzola. Arguably my man of the tournament so far. He's just been lights out down the left-hand side. Wonderful pass over the top. Chiesa plays it perfectly. Perfect first touch pass. Get it out of the way of the defender and scores the goal past the keeper. 1-0. What a wonderful goal to open the scoring in this game. This game needed a wonderful goal, and we got one there with Chiesa. But Italy wasn't done, right? Yeah, they would come back, several minutes later, and then Matteo Pessina off a brilliant pass by Belotti, the workhorse who came in for Immobile late in the game. He sets up Pessina. Pessina blasted past the keeper far side. Wonderful goal, 2-0. Looked like we were cruising there. Kalacic would get a goal in the 114th minute, make it interesting there at the end. But Italy would win, move on to the next round. I think this is an excellent win against a very strong opponent. Italy needed to be pushed. The big argument over Italy so far in the tournament through the first three games is that they hadn't been pushed by anyone, right? They hadn't played anyone. That's people who just want to be negative, right? But this is finally a test that Italy needed and had And this is going to serve them well going into later stages. We wanted to see how they do against adversity. Austria did score a goal in regulation time that was taken back. It was offsides, but we wanted to see how Italy would react under adversity, and they reacted very well, I think. Mancini has to figure out a way when he gets pressed, like the way Austria is pressing them going forward, how they're going to react. But I think overall they did pretty well for considering what we had there in this game. I got to give full credit to the team. Great win again. So we move on to the next game. We already know it's going to be against Belgium. It's going to be a tough game. It's going to be a tough game. And we already know Kevin De Bruyne and Eden Hazard are not going to be in the matchup. That is certainly going to be a boost for the Azzurri, but don't get you wrong, folks. Belgium have plenty of talents. Oh, by the way, one of the best players in Serie A, one of the best players in the world, Romelu Lukaku. He applies his trait from Belgium. He's going to be a handful for the Azzurri. He knows this team very well because he plays with them, right? Majority of these players in the league. So it's going to be a tasty affair. It's going to be a tactics match. The man who sets up the best in this game is going to win, obviously, I think. But getting back to my earlier point, Marco Verratti. I asked the question, what is his statistics in big games? He's no doubt about an excellent player. He's an excellent player. Any team would love to have him. When he, Barella, and Jorginho are in the midfield together, they are lights out, right? We wondered. We talked about this in Serie A sit-down long time ago, over a year ago. We said that, if Manuel Locatelli gets hot, he'd be the one person who could challenge that midfield three for a starting position. And what do we see? Locatelli got hot in this tournament, the first couple games. He played very, very well. And so you could argue, who would you play more, right? The consensus tells you Verratti should get the start over Locatelli. He's just so good. He's so dominant. I argue, though, and I don't have the statistics to back me up. I do. Verratti overall is a fantastic player. I would love to have him on any team that I'm on or support. But I argue that he doesn't show up in the big games for his club and country. When it's Champions League, when it's a big Italian matchup, he doesn't always show up. And I look back at the statistics, and it's going to be hard to argue between Locatelli's big games versus Verratti's big games. It's a difference, right? Verratti's with PSG, and his big games are Champions League. Locatelli's big games are the big teams in Serie A. But you look at the big games for the Azzurri and their club teams for both these gentlemen, and Locatelli actually has a slight edge. He has better numbers overall. No doubt about it. Verratti had fantastic numbers against Wales. He's a fantastic midfielder. He makes the other two players in that midfield excellent. I argue Locatelli can do the same thing as well, and he actually brings a little bit more on the offensive side. That's just me. I'm curious what your take is. This is no shade on Verratti. I think he's a fantastic player, and this is a fantastic option if you're Mancini to have 4 starting midfielders in your team that you can have one resting in case, you can play whoever you want depending on who the matchup is. But for my money, at the present, I would favor slightly Locatelli over Verratti. And I'm curious what your thoughts are. Let us know in the comments below what your thoughts are. Is Verratti actually the better midfielder? Is it Locatelli? Is Verratti actually a big game player, or is he not? Statistics. The statistics I looked at says Verratti has struggled in the bigger games. But I'm curious what your thoughts are. Let me know. I'd love to hear the comments on this one. Again, and the next game is against Belgium. Let's get ready for this. This is on Friday at 3 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's, wherever you are, you know what time the game is at. But yeah, let's see if the boys can get another win this week and continue on their march toward the European Championship. Big test, big test, but they got pushed by Austria. Hopefully that'll help them get them over the edge against Belgium, because I'm not really convinced with Belgium just yet. So if you haven't done so yet, if you're not subscribed, please subscribe to the page, leave comments, let us know how we're doing, let us know what else you want to see on this page. But until the next game, next reaction comes, or the podcast, which is probably a couple months away still. We're still on our summer vacation. Serie A Sit Down, Twitter, Instagram, anywhere and everywhere you can follow us and listen to us. So until next one, folks, we'll catch you then. Ciao.